Welcome back to my transformation series, where we've been transforming some of the best moments from DoubleLife. Last week, people were knocked out of the series, lives were lost, and funerals were held. And in today's video, we're going to be transforming the funeral that Grian and Scar had for Jimmy. Just before we start properly, if you could just scroll down and subscribe, it'd really help me out. I'd really love to hit 1,000 subscribers sometime soon. Now let's go. Welcome to the world that we're going to be building in for this video. The funeral takes place in the ranch, so we're going to have to prepare the terrain for that area. And I get straight on with that, making a plank walkway around half of our disc world. The ranch is also built on relatively hilly terrain, so I get on with building a nice hill to go on the side of where the ranch will be. And well, that's the landscape prepared, but now there's the small issue of a little wall that needs to go around the ranch. Initially, I thought it was a good idea to make a big, tall, medieval wall, but something about that didn't really seem to fit the theme of a nice ranch and farm. So instead, I made a waist-high Minecraft sort of wall, and it looks really tall now, but trust me, once we get the characters in here, it'll start to look very small. Now, the ranch is relatively safe from the outside because of this wall we've got, unless the person has really long legs and can step over. But this walkway is a serious safety hazard. If someone fell off here, they'd go straight into the void, so let's make a quick fence to stop that from happening. The first step towards making this fence is putting down sticks that are a certain amount of blocks apart each. This walkway isn't exactly a straight line, so I can't just make one fence variant and paste it all the way around. But if you look closely, the entire walkway is just made of 1 block diagonals, 2 block, 3 block, 4 block, and straight lines, which makes it very easy just to make 5 different designs, and then I can paste them around. The ranch now has very clearly defined borders, but they're not really keeping anything in or keeping anything out of anything. It might be a good idea to change that, so I have the initial idea to build the house like is in the actual ranch, but I think that'll be a little bit too big and it'll probably just block the view to our scene, so I decide to go for something a lot smaller. So we're downgrading from a house to a cow pen. You can still live in it, and I also get a chance to repurpose the fence design that we used a minute ago. And of course, if you're going to have cows, you also have to have something to feed them. So next up, we're going to be making a wheat field. I start by just making a little bit of raised ground that all of our wheat can be sitting on, and then turning it all to soul soil because it vaguely looks like tilled dirt. We've definitely got a field here, but there's nothing in it, so I start making some wheat variants. The first one I make is a pretty tall one, and I use oak wood here because it's got a similar colour to wheat, and it's also got stair and slab variants that I can use to make the top part of the wheat where the seeds are. The next wheat type that I make is much taller. This is going to be by far the tallest, so I make that and then I paste that all around. And next, I make a little clump and some trodden down wheat bits, and our wheat field is done. Now we can start moving in the cows, and we're going to have 3 variants, all based off the model that we're making now. I use diamond blocks to make a wireframe for the body, which I can then fill in, and then I use gold blocks to make the legs. Then I set the gold blocks to diamond blocks, because we're going to be using gold for something different, and that is the patches on the cows. And finally, I copy and paste this model 2 more times around the pen, and then set them to the colours that I want them to be. So we're going to have 1 black and white cow, 1 brown and white cow, and another brown and white bull, and that one's going to have horns. And of course, they don't really look like cows at the moment, so I add all of the details to each of them that need to be there, like ears and horns and noses. Now it's time to make a gravestone fit for a hero. Jimmy is going to have a gravestone with a big statue of him with his fist in the air. So I get building up a base model using precious blocks again. And I only have to build half because the human body is pretty symmetrical, so I can just flip it to the other side. I leave the arms off, however, because they are not symmetrical, so I start building one arm going up in the air, bending just about where his ear would be, and going above his head into a fist. Now I want his statue to be grey, as though it's been made out of stone, so that it's clearly recognisable that it is a statue, but I still want the details from his classic Minecraft skin. So I use lots of variants of different grey blocks and replace each colour in the skin with a specific block type. So now we've got a statue built, but we need a pedestal to stand it on. So I make a relatively standard square pedestal, but I write RIP Jimmy on it. Now before we get to building the other characters, I make some paths through the ranch just to make it look a lot more linked up. So let's make a start on Grian. First things first, I paste in the version of Grian that we made in the last episode of this series. But I need to move his arms into a different position, and I need to change the emotion on his face, which I do by changing the eyebrows to make him look less angry and more sad. Now we're going to have Grian holding a little flower for Jimmy and just sitting there mourning. Scar, on the other hand, is off doing something else. My first step towards making Scar is to make a dirt bridge going off into the void, because he is of course bridging out to go and steal some TNT, to his death. I also paste in the scar from last episode. But once again, his arms need repositioning, so I remove jelly from the middle of them, and then I move one arm to holding a dirt block, and the other one is just going to be down by his side in a relatively neutral position. I paste Scar onto the bridge, and of course, we can't have Scar without jelly, so I put jelly on the side of the bridge, just barely clinging on. Grian and Scar aren't the only ones who came to Jimmy's funeral. No, they had a massive crowd. A donkey also came. I want the donkey to be pretty distinguishable from the cows, so I make it sitting down instead. Once the base for the body is made, I colour it in, give it a mane, some ears, a nose, and eyes, and a saddle, and then this donkey is done. Now, Jimmy has a big statue for his gravestone, but there's someone else who was pretty much forgotten about in the funeral, and that is Tango. So I make a quick gravestone for him, but it's going to be a lot more plain, just a very generic gravestone. So I'm also going to add some cracks in the side of it and some leaves tangling around it to make it a lot more overgrown and forgotten about. The final thing to do for this project is to add some environmental interest, so I raise a small area between the gravestones, I add some tufts of grass, and of course, outside the ranch, I add the billboard that says who is banned, with only Grian's picture on it. And with that, this project is done. Let's go and have a look at what we've built this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please remember to leave a like and subscribe because it really helps me out. And I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye! But if you look closely, the entire walkway is just made of 1 block diagonals, 2 block diagonals, 3 block diagonals. Diagonals? Diagonals. What? This walkway isn't exactly a straight line, so I can't just make one fence variant and paste it all the way around.